Hello, my name is Mark Ellis from Stick and Rudder Studios, and today I'd like to walk you through what it takes to upgrade from X-KeyPad 1.4 to the new version X-KeyPad 1.5. And in this video, what we're going to cover is the overview of the differences between X-KeyPad 1.4 and 1.5. We're also going to walk you through the upgrade installation because it's a little bit different than what you're normally used to. And then we're going to go in and we're actually going to convert existing 1.4 configurations to 1.5 and see how that looks. And then we'll do a brief configuration UI walkthrough. And with that, why don't we get into looking at what some of the differences are. So X-KeyPad 1.5 is a pretty significant enhancement over the previous version. I would say the biggest thing that's in there is there's a graphical user interface for device configuration. For those of you that obviously are watching this video already have X-KeyPad 1.4, you'll recall that all configurations are done through comma delimited files. And although that was very powerful, it was frankly a little difficult to use and could be complicated. With the new graphical user interface, as you're going to see, we'll actually demo that briefly as part of this video. It's much easier to create and manage device configurations for your hardware devices or the virtual devices. The other big thing that X-KeyPad 1.5 has is it has support for the X-Touch Mini Midi controller. And here's an actual image of that device right now. It's a fantastic, relatively inexpensive device that has a number of rotary encoders on them. And the last time I checked, this device is going for around $80 on Amazon or at Sweetwater. And what's beautiful about this is not only does it have a number of buttons on here that have got yellow LEDs behind them, but it's got 8 rotary encoders that you can map to manipulating things like your radios, many of your autopilot features, things where you typically had a rotary encoder within the 3D cockpit. You can do it here on the X-Touch Mini, and you can even use it in combination with an X-KeyPad virtual device to do a very dynamic legend for the X-Touch Mini. It's really a great device. And similar to the new graphical user interface for the virtual devices in PI Engineering keyboards, the X-Touch Mini can be completely configured with a graphical user interface. The other thing we've done is made a significant improvement to performance of virtual devices. If you recall, a virtual device could easily hit your frame rates on your computer, and we made some enhancements so that performance impact is significantly lessened, and it actually performs really pretty nice right now. We've also added a number of features that allow you to more significantly enhance your key label layouts for virtual devices. Lines are now broken up into line segments, so within a line on the key, you can have either static text, you could have formatted data, from either numeric data or even strings, data ref strings, okay, within the simulator. You can also control the font and the color at the line segment level, so it's much easier to make the key labels look exactly the way you want them to look. We've also added formulas and expressions, and these are ways of combining multiple data refs in the simulator along with constant values and combine them in a mathematical way to come up with a new value that you can use to drive either logic in making decisions on what keys you're going to show or what colors you're going to show. It also can come up with new data that you could represent on the keys. And in the past, you used to always have to do this with a Fly with Lua script. With the new formulas and expressions, it'll cut down on your need to use Fly with Lua for doing some of the more advanced things in key configurations. We've also improved the samples that come with X-KeyPad so that they now demonstrate some of the new features and capabilities that are in 1.5. In addition, the new editor gives you the ability to have multiple configurations open at the same time. This allows you to either have template configurations that you could have opened up at the same time that you have your main configuration for an aircraft that you're doing, and you can copy and paste the key definitions from that template on over. It also allows you to maybe open up someone else's configuration for an aircraft and copy and paste just the keys that you're interested in and place them where you want them on your configuration. The other big difference is the configurations are now stored in a JSON format file. We're not going to be using CSV files anymore. Once you actually bring up 1.5, it'll automatically convert the CSV you have in a particular aircraft, and it'll convert it to a JSON format. The JSON format supports a much more complex data structures, and frankly, for me, it's a lot easier for me to add enhancements to X-KeyPad going forward, because the JSON structure will allow me to save and persist those enhancements much better than we could do with the CSV. The other thing with this new JSON format is virtual devices are now going to be managed in that main configuration file. That makes it a lot easier that when you want to share a configuration with the community, typically, particularly if you've done everything with formulas and expressions with some of the more advanced stuff, all you have to do is publish that JSON file on xplain.org, and that's all people really need. And when they use it, it'll actually create the virtual devices. If you're using virtual devices, it'll create them in the right layout, in font that you had designed it to work with. And then obviously, once people have got that, they can change the fonts or change whatever they want in it. But things are more contained in that one file. In the past, you would not only have to ship the CSV file, you might have to ship with it any Fly with Lewis scripts that you created, and you would have to have instructions telling people how to create the virtual devices and what layout they needed, because that was not originally in the CSV file. So that is pretty much the main differences. Why don't we now walk through about how you actually go through and basically install X-KeyPad 1.5. So when you upgrade to X-KeyPad 1.5, you're going to obviously download the 1.5 archive, and you actually see it here, me showing it to you in my downloads folder. What you're going to want to do is unzip this, just like you traditionally would. And I use 7-zip. I'm just going to extract it to this X-KeyPad 1.5 folder. And this is the one we're actually going to want to copy, is this X-KeyPad folder here. But here's what's a little different about this. Your original samples folder in 1.4 contains a bunch of extra files that are no longer needed. First off, that samples folder's got CSV files in there where the new samples don't have CSVs. It may also have Lewis scripts that went with the 1.4 samples, and many of the 1.5 samples were now doing some of the more advanced stuff using formulas and expressions which are contained in the JSON file, and these Lewis scripts are no longer needed. Since we're not really using an installer to install X-KeyPad 1.5, I'm recommending that you go in and you remove your samples folder and allow the 1.5 archive to replace it with the new things. Now, a word of caution. If you put some of your own stuff in the samples folder, then you're not going to want to do this. Either leave it the way it was and deal with the fact that you have extraneous files in there, or move any of your personal items out of the samples folder. So let me just show you where that is. If I go to my X-Plane plugins folder here and go to X-KeyPad, here is that samples folder. And as I indicated, if I came down here and looked at the virtual devices, you'll see that I've got Lewis scripts and CSVs and XLSX files. These are no longer needed for X-KeyPad 1.5. So what we're going to do, what I'm recommending you do, is go to your plugins folder, go to your X-KeyPad folder, and delete this. Now we can back over to downloads. We're going to go to this X-KeyPad 1.5 folder that we extracted, and we're just going to copy this the way it is. Come over to the plugins folder and paste it in, and allow Windows Explorer or Finder or whatever you're using to basically replace the files. Now, optionally, you could delete your X-KeyPad folder and completely start brand new again, but I don't recommend that. You may have had some settings that you want to retain. Plus, you've got your license key file there. If you do delete the X-KeyPad folder entirely and just replace it with the new one, you will need to go in and re-register with your key. So it's easier to do it kind of the way I suggested here. Okay, with that, why don't we go ahead and fire up X-KeyPad or fire up X-Plane, and I'll show you what's going to happen when we when we do a conversion, or what actually happens automatically. Okay? Okay, so what happened here is as soon as X-KeyPad loaded and it saw that you loaded the Cessna 172, assuming for a moment that you had a configuration for the Cessna 172, it'll actually go through and convert the file. And just to prove that that's correct, I'm going to come on over here. I'm going to show you the Explorer. We'll go to X-Plane 11. We'll go to Aircraft, Laminar Research, Cessna 172 SP. And what we should see down here is that X-KeyPad went through and it did a conversion. It created this X-Key Cessna 172.json file. And it did that by reading the CSV and any virtual devices that you had previously created. Now, it does not delete the old CSV file. It's still going to be there. You can remove it if you don't want it around anymore, but it does leave it there. It doesn't delete it. But from now on, when you go in and you do configuration editing, this is all going to get done within this JSON file. And you don't have to actually have to edit this with an editor. As a matter of fact, I recommend, even though this JSON file is a text file, my preference is that you use the graphical user interface to do all editing. This JSON file can get a little complicated, and I have not bothered to go through and document its structure that much, and it's easy to mess it up. But everything that you're going to want to do, you can do within the editor. And long as we've got that up, let me actually show you what that editor looks like. I'm going to go ahead and move this off screen here for a minute. All we have to do is come up here. We're going to go to X-KeyPad, and we're going to bring up the keypad configuration editor. Now, a lot of the concepts that you're going to see in here are similar to what you're used to, okay? You still have the concept of a logic data ref. You still got the concept of these primary red and blue LEDs, which is what you use if you're primarily trying to configure hardware devices like the PI engineering device, or you could even use it for virtual devices. You've got your commands, that you could specify, your true and false commands, and your speech that goes along with them. You've got your numeric data ref. You've got things like font colors and key colors. And just to show you how this works, okay, if I come over here and I have this X-KeyPad device up, as soon as I click on a key, it's automatically in the editor going to pick that key. And you'll see here that the key I've got is, which one did I pick here? I've lost myself. The oil pressure, okay? And you can see right now the oil pressure, this is where all your logic tests are. Like less than 21, it's going to be, red. Less than 54, it's going to be yellow. Greater than 114, it's going to be red. And if it's greater than 53, it'll be green. And just to show you, okay, what kinds of things you could do here. Say I don't want that to be green. Say I want that color to maybe be, it's a little difficult to keep this up here when I keep doing this. But if I want that to say be, I don't know, maybe I want it to be purple. We'll bring up the color editor here. And we'll make it purple. And if I just bring the virtual device back up again here, you'll notice the oil pressure is purple, when it's in the green. Or I can revert that change, and it'll come back to what it was before. You've also got built into this thing the ability to search for data refs, okay, or commands. So I can just come in here, I can do a search. Maybe I want to find everything to do with oil. And here it's going to show me all those data refs and what those values are. And I could just do things like copy it and come up and paste it in, to change that particular data ref. Same with commands. Let's see if I can pick a key here that does something. How about fuel pump?
Fuel pumps on.
So here's the commands that the false commands, the true commands for affecting your fuel pumps. I can search for them too. You know, and here are all of the commands filtered okay with the word fuel in them. So you could still use the data ref tool. I still think that thing's superior, but for a lot of things, you can do searching for commands and data refs right within the editor. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of other tutorials that are going to walk you through all the details in this editor and what you can do. But let me show you another thing that's kind of really cool pretty quickly. Let me bring this over here. I'll shut this. Bring this back to the top. And one of the things you could do is you can put this in a copy and paste mode or a drag and drop mode. So say as an example, if I want to go to drag and drop mode to move the keys around, I can either copy a key, I can move a key, or I could swap a key. So let's do a swap mode. I'm going to put it into swap. And now what you end up with is these little targets. So say, for instance, the heading and the course key. Or we'll even do something more for this. Say I want to swap the heading key and the heading sync key. I just drag this over here like this and drop it, and they're swapped. Okay? And you can operate that in either a copy mode or, however the different modes are that you want to drag and drop. You can also do things like copy stuff back and forth. So let me come over here and take it out of drag drop mode. I'm going to put it into copy paste mode. Now I can come in here and say, example, maybe I want this ADF card key. I'm going to check it there. I'll come up and I'm going to say copy. I'm going to go to the other shift state, and let's say I want to paste that right here. And that's the kind of beauty of what you can do with this new editor. Okay, much easier to work with this than the CSV files. It even lets you do things like, let me get out of this mode here. Move this off, bring the editor back up again. And I'm going to revert these changes. You can also come up here and you've got different file operations. So right now I'm on the Cessna 172 configuration, but I could come up here and I could do an open on a completely different configuration, you know, and maybe pick things from that. So let's say as example, I come down here, I go to resources, plugins, X-KeyPad. I'm going to come over here to I don't know, we'll go to virtual devices. Maybe not the Viper Jet. Say I want to open this one up here. Right? Now what I can do is, say for instance, I've got some keys on here that I like. I can go ahead and I can copy those, you know, and I can then paste them into my main configuration. So it's really easy to move back and forth, you know, between a configuration like this one that I've got open and then quickly come back to my main one that I'm working with on the aircraft I've got. So things where you used to have Excel up and working and you have to copy things back and forth and paste them, pretty much everything that you need to do, you can do right within the configuration editor. So that's kind of a preview. That's how you do the upgrade, how you use the editor. And again, this is just an upgrade tutorial. There are separate tutorials that will walk you through all the new features and how to use all of the capabilities within this new editor, and how to even go through and do things like configure an X-Touch Mini if you decide to purchase one of those. So thank you very much for watching this tutorial video, and I hope you enjoy X-KeyPad 1.5.